Best thing about singing at Christmas is the Cocoa Caroline and fun. Whoa, go totally Yuletide, taking a sleigh ride. Santa shirt, reindeer skirts. Whoa.
You know what? She totally put herself out there doing that. And that was not an easy thing to do. And if we're the kind of podcast that can't support a woman's ambition, then I don't think there's any reason to continue this episode.
I want to be free to feel the way I feel.
About Christmas. You should finish it out.
Christmas.
Like, we're just that pumped about this.
Man, I feel like some Christmas.
Woo!
Jingles.
Molly Shannon, American treasure. Is she American? I'm assuming she's American.
I hope so. Mm-hmm. Probably.
Well, welcome to
American sounding names.
The What podcast, where we love Christmas and caroling and cocoa and fun.
I am that character.
Mm-hmm. I mean, literally, that's Ashby to a T.
Just jingle bells all the time.
The two characters that around Christmas time that embody Ashby is Molly Shannon from the Santa Claus 2,
100,
and Kevin McAllister's mom from Home Alone. I mean,
also
100%.
Also facts.
100%.
I should reshare that video this year.
Ivy and I were watching Home Alone 2 last night, and we were watching Home Alone last week, and I was like, doesn't she look like Ashby? She's like, oh, I can't unsee it now. I was like, no. Every time I see this, like, well, Ashby's done lost her kids again. I mean,
because it's not even an Ashby does this at Christmas. This is an everyday Ashby looks just like her type thing.
Also true. Also true. I hair isn't as red as it was when I did that video, but
it's okay. I'm sure her hair's different at this point too.
Now I get as pop culture things change and Catherine O'Hara continues to be a queen, basically,
yes,
and an acting legend. Now I get, you look just like the mom from Schitt's Creek.
That makes sense.
Yeah, so I'm like, but same song, different verse, honestly.
Literally, yes. Well, we're grateful that you've tuned in today to hear that wonderful rendition. For those of you who love music episodes, we started off with a song, so it's
kind of similar.
You're welcome.
Listen to the rest of the pod. We need to do a whole episode and just sing song. Just like
sing song.
Yeah, just sing song. Like we're all just singing what we're gonna sing.
Next week's what? Year in review. Just do that one.
Yes.
Year in review.
Oh, it's about
Lots
a
of
witch.
great shows came out.
It's a shame you came unarmed.
I haven't seen half
that
the movies.
Was hilarious.
Welcome to the What the What podcast, where, again, in a battle of wits, we did not come unarmed. Please subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, or wherever it is you get your podcasts. And, of course, rate and review us. 5 stars only, positive vibes only. If you do not give us 5 stars, then we're going to stick a secret little clause to the listening contract that will require you to, I don't know, get married before Christmas. I don't know. Who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows?
I don't. Or your ears don't work anymore ever again.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
Talking to you two over here.
Yeah. Wait, what?
It's in the clause.
There's no clause.
Yeah.
Wait, there's a clause?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. The Santa Claus. Yes, that's me. Yes.
No, that new what logo I made? Yeah. Real small at the bottom. You both agreed to it. Said you loved it. You got to get married before Christmas.
Okay.
Now.
You know what we're going to do after this episode? We're going to get a magnifying glass.
Yeah. We're going to be looking at that sticker real hard.
Yes. So welcome to the What podcast. I've already said that. Eat your green vegetables or your ears will turn pointy. And please follow us on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram at What the What Media.
All one word.
And you can find us on Twitter at WTW_media. And on today's episode, we are taking a
deep dive
into the, what year did this come out? 2002? Is that correct? I believe it's, 2002. November 1st, 2002, Christmas movie, The Santa Claus 2, starring Tim Allen. This is your spoiler warning. If you have not seen The Santa Claus 2, it's not as good as the first one, but it's really good still. So go out and watch it, please, and then come back and listen to this, please. We'd appreciate that.
I don't know if Ashby agrees. You said that and her eyes got real big, and then they went back down.
Nope. Unrelated.
Okay.
Unrelated.
Unrelated eye rolling. Okay, cool.
Yeah, sorry.
Yes.
I have a constant internal monologue, and sometimes I forget not to react to it externally.
It's okay.
Well, spoilers are incoming, so you have been warned. Let's jump into what actually happened on or in this movie.
Before we do that,
Yes, before we do that,
let's talk about some things.
well, what are we talking
I
about?
pulled in your driveway down here.
You did.
On your street over here.
You did.
Your neighbor, he's outside with his kids.
Yes.
Decorating all these things.
All the things.
We making it Christmassy. I come in your house. You've already got the inside of your house decorated all
So
Christmassy
proud,
so far.
honestly. Proud mama over here.
You should be proud.
You
Proud
should.
Christmas mama over
I don't know
here.
if you've been outside yet today.
I have.
Have you heard the special present that's down the block from you?
No.
Dominic,
is
the
there a
Christmas donkey,
Oh, no, he lives here
is
all year
down the
long.
street. There was a little girl walking.
Hee-haw.
Yes. She's walking Dominic down the street in her backyard. I
Wait,
can
wait,
see it
wait,
coming
wait.
up
You're
the
talking about a
road.
real donkey.
It's a real donkey.
Like a real
100%.
live donkey.
Yes, if you
Is
listen
in
really
Eric's
carefully,
neighborhood.
like 11:30
I was
at
walking.
night,
I heard-
you can hear him.
Yeah.
I heard it.
Yeah, he
donkey
lives here year long, and he's just such a joy.
I've never heard him before, but like
I know this is
I
a
saw
podcast,
him,
but just
and I heard
imagine
him.
me
Yeah.
lying through my face.
Yes, a joy to have. Like the chicken auction I live next to with all the roosters that love to be morning roosters.
Cock-a-doodle-doo.
So we were talking earlier too. There's a couple of new Christmas movies out
There he is.
that are
Yes.
similar. Well, at least one of them is similar in this way. It's
Yeah.
Home Sweet Home Alone. Is
Yep.
that right?
Yep.
Home Sweet
Which is
Home
technically the fifth Home Alone.
Alone. The sixth.
There's another one there.
And has
Yeah.
Nebula in it.
Yes, and
Eric hasn't seen it yet.
Aaron from the office.
Office. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. It's good. Look,
No
we
spoilers
said
on
we
this one.
wouldn't do any
Ashby and I've
spoilers
seen it.
because Eric hasn't seen it. And so you can listen to this with, Kyle and I aren't going to spoil it for you.
Mm-hmm.
All I will say is that much like the third Home Alone, it is, if you watch it without the thought that it is part of the Home Alone canon, then it's kind of a delightful movie.
True.
I enjoyed it, but it's not Home Alone. It shouldn't be called Home Alone.
Well, I felt there's a lot of reviews that just came out bashing it, saying it was trash.
It's not trash.
It's the same way. It's a Christmas movie.
Yeah, I thought it was good.
Especially this compared to some of the other ones that have come out.
Right.
Definitely way better. It's done in a way that I enjoy it in the fact that a lot of the things aren't done the same way it is in the originals.
Yes.
So the whole reasoning behind some of it is different.
Right.
It's not your typical.
There's no villain.
No, and this is done in, well, they're sort of, won't want to spoil it for Eric. There's
Yeah.
some stuff there. But it's done in such a way that it's not so much you're just watching it and it's like, oh, there's this kid who is technically Kevin, and
Right.
this is Harry and Marv, and
Right.
this is, a cheap, version of it. And so it's not like, they did it in a different way. And I'd say
Yeah.
it's enjoyable enough. Especially, like, I think Christmas movies, for the most part, get a pass anyway. Whereas
Yeah.
if Hallmark can put out 30 to 50 movies that pretty much 90-something% are the same, and we still enjoy them. Like, I'm not bashing
Right.
them.
Absolutely.
I'm not bashing it at all.
Nor
But
should you.
no, but if they can
Right,
do that,
right.
then I definitely think you can watch this and
Well,
enjoy
and
it.
it hit it. I feel like there's a Christmas checklist, right,
Yeah.
for Christmas movies. Like learning that it's better to give instead of receive, and understanding that people are less fortunate around the holidays, and understanding that home is where the heart is,
Yeah.
and so there's it definitely hit the checklist.
It did, and there did a few things to make it to tie it in with Home Alone that I think they did
Yes.
it well without overdoing it to make it like,
Yeah.
here we go.
For
Here's
sure.
the thing, in the Home Alone canon, you're right. Home Alone 3 should not be called Home Alone 3. It would
Right.
be a fantastic, much better movie if it was just titled something.
Right, if it wasn't
totally
tied
different.
to the Home Alone
Home
franchise.
Alone 4 actually tries to follow
Yeah.
the canon.
It does.
And it does so poorly. So
Yeah.
poorly.
Yeah.
So it should just be wiped off the face of the earth. I don't even know what Home Alone 5 is.
Wait, there's a Home Alone 4?
Yeah.
Yeah, Home Alone 4 is there. I have it in the box set.
Yeah.
You could buy the 4 movies cheaper than you
So
could
there's
buying
the
1
one
and 2
that
individually back in the day.
there's the one that the
Scarlett
kid,
Johansson
yes,
and his sister.
with the
That's
Russians.
number 3.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
number 3. So you're telling me there was a fourth one?
And a fifth one.
Eric's telling me there's a 5th one.
I thought the one that I was watching recently was the fourth one. I didn't realize there were already 4 and 5.
I didn't know
Home
about
Alone 5 came out in 2012.
What?
I know Home Alone 4. We're over here Googling, trying to figure things
You're
out.
saying what's...
Home
you're-
Alone: The Holiday Heist came out in 2012.
Oh, never seen it.
Yeah.
It's got Ed Asner in it. Interesting.
Well, he's in everything. Home
so then
Alone,
what was Home Alone 4?
Home Alone 4 was called Taking Back the House, and it starred French Stewart as Marv from the first 2 movies.
Yeah.
Oh,
Like,
so they recast.
They recast.
No,
And-
absolutely
and
not.
Absolutely not. I agree.
So you're saying what Kyle and I are talking about is technically 6.
Yes.
Yes.
Both.
I'm looking at 5
And,
now.
and in Home Alone 4, if I'm remembering correctly, Kevin's mom and dad got separate. Like
I think so.
And I don't know if there's any mention of any of the siblings, the 5 siblings. And it's like, okay, I understand why y'all separate. Y'all clearly can't.
Well, now I know why 4 and 5 don't live in my brain because
they should not.
They shouldn't. Yeah,
They should not.
miss those.
Interesting fact: Home Alone 4 came out in 2002, as well as Santa Claus 2. So I would definitely recommend between the two, Santa Claus 2,
100%.
As we
Even
were talk-
Santa Claus 3 is
Yeah.
actually pretty good.
for sure, within
Like-
reason. Like,
Yeah.
To be fair, in Home Alone 4, they do mention Buzz and Megan.
Right.
But the other two, because there's 5 kids in that family.
Right. Because the other kids were cousins.
Yeah, there's 5 kids on
Right.
in both sides.
Yes.
5 and 5, 10 cousins, plus the other girl cousin who lives in Paris with her.
Right.
We're going deep into the Home Alone canon, but this is the Santa Claus 2.
hold on though. I think maybe I did watch Home Alone. Where's the one? Because there's the dad, or not the dad. Is it Marv? He's the tall one, right?
Yeah, French Stewart.
So he was in the other one, though, right? Which one was he recast?
He was recast in
4?
4, yes.
But he was a different character.
No, he was cast as Marv.
Okay, still same guy. Okay.
He was
Which
portrayed
was
by
Daniel
Stern in the first 2
yes.
films. Yeah.
Yeah. Look, here's the great thing about the Santa Claus is when their cast didn't want to be in the movies anymore, they just stopped making the movies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, I mean, Daniel Stern called
Just a thought.
Home Alone 4 an insult, total garbage, and he refused to reprise his role as
Okay.
Marv. So
Okay, fair.
fair enough. Yeah,
Yeah.
fair
He's been
enough.
in some other Christmas movie where like I got excited to see him, but I don't remember what it
And,
was.
and here's the thing that makes me mad about Home Alone 4. Again, not to go too deep into the canon, but they recast Kevin McAllister with a kid named Mike Weinberg, who's a 9-year-old boy who defends the house from Marv and Vera. But he was 10 years old in Home Alone 2.
Look, you had one job.
I'm
Continuity team.
so
He had one job not to make this movie.
I'm Xing out of this
Also that.
Wikipedia, never to go back to it again.
Okay. Anywho.
But yeah, Home Sweet Home
Look, there's
Alone.
some
I'm
good
looking
Christmas
forward to
movies out
seeing
right now.
that. You mentioned 8-Bit Christmas.
That's
Yeah.
the other one I would recommend. I
And
watched
that's
it.
going to be watched by me and Ivy at
Mm-hmm.
some point.
We watched it,
yeah.
I think, Thursday. I think whatever day it came out. I think it came out on Thanksgiving. So I think we watched it that night. It's definitely same way. I don't know that it would be great in like movie theaters, but it still was good. It reminds me a lot of like the Wonder Years or the Goldbergs on how they do some things where they throw back to
It's like if Stranger Things was at Christmas time and wasn't scary.
sort of, yeah. I'll give you a little bit more of a premise now that I've seen it. It still doesn't ruin anything, but it starts out where Neil Patrick Harris plays the main character.
Okay.
His daughter is wanting a cell phone. And
Okay.
she's young, like she's real young, and like
Right.
all her friends have to text her dad for her to get her text messages. And she's like, I get more things
Rough.
than you do on that phone,
Yeah.
blah, blah, blah. And so the whole premise is, well, let me tell you about a time where there was something I really wanted, and here's the story. And like,
Okay.
so it goes back and forth a lot.
Okay.
You know, him retelling this, but it's done in a cool way, and it's fun. I'll just, it's I don't know. I don't know really what I went in expecting it, but the trailer gives away. He's really goes back to the first Nintendo, the NES, like when he got that when it was a big ordeal, and just the whole world was going crazy. And it also throws in like Cabbage Patch Kids and some fun things in there because they were around at the same time. So definitely a fun one. That's on HBO Max. Same way, it's a Christmas movie, so it's probably not perfect, but it actually, for a modern Christmas movie, it still gives you like some good feels,
Right.
from like your childhood and stuff too. So
Cool.
definitely recommend those, at least to jump in on this holiday season. But now back to Eric.
Back to me, where we're going to talk about what happened in the Santa Claus 2. And a lot happened in this movie.
Yeah, it
A
did.
lot. Yeah.
This movie had a lot going on with it. 3 main stories. Where should I start? Let's start with the fact that this has been 8 years following the original movie. Scott Calvin, SC, Santa Claus. He's become a great Santa Claus over the past 8 years. He's he's one of the top rated Santas in history. Like, kids love him. Joy is up like, a certain number percent. Head elf Bernard and Curtis, who's the keeper of the Handbook of Christmas, inform him that there is another Claus. Another Santa Claus.
Spelled with an E.
With an E, yes. It's called the Mrs. Claus. Scott, has to get married before Christmas Eve, or the clause will be broken and he will stop being Santa forever. And, all these, kids will be very disappointed because Christmas will cease to exist. So, yeah. At the same time,
Seems a little rushed.
a
but
little
okay.
rush. Well, Curtis definitely fell down on the job.
Yeah, for sure.
At the same time, Abby the elf, who's now in charge of delivering the cocoa because Judy the elf apparently got fired, or the actress who played her got really much older, and couldn't reprise her role because she's a teenager now, or whatever. Abby the elf delivers even more distressing news. You remember Charlie? Not Charlie.
Sweet little Charlie.
Not Charlie Sheen. I know he was doing better, but he definitely got worse throughout the decade. No. Charlie, Scott's son, is on the naughty list.
Oh, no.
It's terrible. I know. And then the third story, because Scott needs to go home and set things right with Charlie, and he's got to get married. He's got a lot juggling here.
Really?
This other the keeper of the Handbook of Christmas, Curtis, has this brilliant idea. Let's just create a toy Santa.
I mean,
to be in charge of the elves.
Really great thought. Okay, not great execution, but I'm kind of with Bernard on this. It seems to be working out at the start. Seems to be going well.
Yeah,
Takes a real terrible turn.
I will say, fake Santa looks very creepy. He's like the Burger King king in the commercials.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's a good description. Like, if you remember that was a big ordeal where he's very plastic.
Very plastic, yeah.
His mouth moves, which is weird.
So
I know you're going over the main points with that, but I just want to jump in there a little bit. Is I think they did that in a really cool way. Like, I know I've talked about in other movies and stuff how I like practical effects and stuff. Mm-hmm. It's done in such a way that you, as the person watching it, are like, "Oh, he's so fake." But at the same time, they're in a toy shop with elves and all sorts of magic. Who knows, what's real, what's not?
Yeah, who knows?
But I really like how they did it, where they still used Tim Allen. They still did it in a way,
right, with prosthetics.
Yeah, and it just looked really cool because he does look so fake. But even with that, the way Tim Allen plays that character and responds, he's very straightforward, very bold, very all his talking is very stiff, just like everything else is about that guy being a plastic toy. So I don't know. It was cool to throw in a villain almost like that, and not expecting it.
Well, speaking of new characters, we have the Council of Legendary Figures.
Yes, I love
who
this.
show up. Mother Nature,
my favorite.
Father Time, Cupid,
Sandman,
Easter Bunny, Sandman, the Tooth Fairy. They're
the
all
Molinator.
I
the
love that so
Molinator,
much.
yes, played by the wonderful Art LaFleur,
And he just passed away.
Passed
right?
away about 2 weeks ago.
Oh no, I didn't know that. That's so sad.
He fantastic.
He's been in a lot of cool stuff.
Yeah,
He has.
he was in the Sandman, or not the Sandman, the Sandlot.
He was. He played Babe Ruth.
The Great Bambino.
Yeah.
Yes. He was in a lot of good stuff. So R.I.P. Art LaFleur. So bring them up because they will play a part in the plot. So Curtis, as he succinctly notes, the de-santification process has begun.
Can I just add, I love
That's
Curtis
so fun to
as
watch.
well.
Oh yes.
Just I loved Bernard.
Bernard, yeah.
In the first movie, he was much more strict. I like him. The second one, he's loosened up a little bit.
Yeah.
But that I love these two where he's like the sidekick now, comes in and just adds that pure energy that you don't get out of some of the other characters.
Yes. So
Also Chet.
Chet.
Chet's my favorite.
Chet, yes.
What does a reindeer sound like? It just makes really funny noises the whole time.
So
Isn't there a line where he's like, cut the chit chat chat?
Yes.
That came from line, I think they said it was first season of Home Improvement, where he says it to a caller that calls in to Tool Time and keeps overly talking.
They work in a lot of Tim Allen's greatest lines.
They do, and it's really cool how they do that.
Yeah.
yes.
I was trying to remember.
You were a strange, sad little man.
Yeah, they're like little Easter eggs.
Yes.
I was trying to think, and sorry I'm going way off topic here, but I don't think it was here. Was Sean and Boy Meets World with his dad named Chet? Chet Hunter?
Yes, Chet Hunter.
Yes.
Chet Hunters.
The
Chet's
guy-
News Network. CNN. I made the mistake of telling some businessman in Atlanta in an elevator about it, and Ted Turner just stole my idea.
The only reason I bring him up is because in Home Improvement, the same person that plays Chet, Sean's dad, plays is it Harry? I think he runs a hardware store
he plays
now.
Harry, and he's also the replacement for the Slinky Dog in Toy Story
He is.
3 and 4.
So whenever I heard Chet, I automatically think of Sean Hunter's dad, but it's a universe out there floating around.
The Tim Allen Cinematic Universe.
Yeah. Bring it back.
Wow. So Scott goes back to his ex-wife's house where Laura and her husband Neil with his great sweaters.
Love Neil.
They have a
more in this
6-year-old daughter, Lucy, who's a
Love
delight.
Lucy. Uncle Scott.
Uncle Scott. And Comet, comes along for the ride.
My favorite.
He does what we all do around the Christmas time and overeats.
Sweets, yeah.
Yes. And at the North Pole, Toy Santa is following the rule book too literally. And he seems to think that everyone in the world is naughty because of their small mistakes. So he takes over the North Pole using giant toy soldiers he made, and he unveils his plan to the elves to give lumps of coal to the world. And Toy Santa places Bernard under house arrest. So all this is going on. Scott is trying to help Charlie. Charlie's acting out by graffitiing the school. The principal of the school seems like a real stick in the mud.
Yep.
But
a good-looking stick in the mud, but a
very
stick in
good
the
looking.
mud.
Yeah, but yes.
Well, Charlie too. Like at the beginning when he's doing this, like he has a girl that's helping him lower himself. Like, because they're in high school at this point. And at first, you almost are like, he's doing this just to impress some girl. But then you realize, too, she's like, Charlie, this isn't a good idea. You're really going to get in trouble.
Right.
We need to stop. And he's still trying to impress her by this.
Right.
But it's
Because
not.
men are stubborn and stupid.
Yeah. But
You said it.
Yeah. How some movies would play out, they don't at least like blame it on her that she's the reason he's bad. And
Right.
we do get a reason later on for the choices that he's making now.
Right.
Well, after a few failed dates, including one memorable one with Molly Shannon, who just loves everything about Christmas, big Santa Claus fan.
Put up the stocking, spraying some flocking. Okay, sorry.
Yes.
So catchy.
But Scott finds himself falling for the principal, Carol. And he accompanies her in a horse-drawn sleigh to the faculty Christmas party.
Using that magic up.
Yep, using that. He has a very limited magic that he can use. And during that ride, she confesses that she used to believe in Santa as a child until she was forced to stop doing so by her parents after fighting with children at school who told her Santa wasn't real. So using a little bit of his Christmas magic, Scott enlivens the otherwise dull Christmas party by presenting everyone with their childhood dream gifts. And he makes a special presentation to Carol, and with the last remnant of his magic, wins her over, and they kiss under mistletoe. However,
It's magical.
when Scott attempts to explain to her that he is Santa, she believes that he is mocking her childhood and throws him out.
Well, I mean, look, to be fair.
To be fair,
To be fair.
I
He
mean,
didn't even have a good beard. Like,
Yeah.
you can't call yourself Santa.
No.
Like,
But to be fair, the DE-SANTIFICATION process had already begun.
Right.
Thanks, Curtis.
once again, real fast sidetrack. It's holiday related. Santa Claus was in New Bern last night.
Oh.
Down that really pretty alley. If you take Ivy to New Bern this holiday season, it's always beautiful down there. They have fake snow going on. It's awesome. Usually, Sky's a little over 6 months old now. Usually kids, the first time they meet Santa Claus, they're scared to
They
death.
cry.
Yes.
Yeah, 100%.
I'm convinced the fact that I have like this giant beard, when she saw Santa Claus, she was just like,
Totally unfazed.
she was like, who's this guy?
Right.
But she never once was like,
That's funny.
what are you doing? Like, she
Right.
looked at him and was
Right.
like, okay. And then she
Cool.
looked at us. And I've come to realize, too, like, everybody in your family wants to do their best to get her to smile. Mm-hmm. And, everybody is doing their best. But I can imagine being on the other side when you've got 5 people yelling random
very
things.
overwhelming.
They're just like, I don't know who this guy is, but those are the crazy ones. It's like,
Right,
the fun part is,
100%.
we look that way and it's okay. We acknowledge it. But yes, either way, we got some pictures. We'll share those later.
That's funny.
So, converging all the stories, okay? Scott, he's kind of striking out with Carol. Charlie confesses to Scott how hard it is for him that Scott is never around like other fathers, and the pressure that he's under to conceal the secret that his father is Santa. It's the greatest thing in the world. He can't even tell anybody. Lucy manages to convince Charlie not to be mad at him in just a great line. Like, Charlie's like, this is, it's really hard. And she's like, no, it's not. It's easy. Come on. I mean, it's like from the mouth of babes.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I was like, you got a point. Sometimes, as older, humans, we tend to stress out over things that aren't really that stressful. We just seem to make them stressful in our head.
But him, admitting that, too. I know I keep breaking it on you. I don't mean to.
You're killing me, Scott.
But you're getting me excited with this movie. It hit me. I didn't, rewatching it, I didn't think so much about Charlie having those moments. Like, I was just thinking, oh, random teenager, angst. But for the honesty, and I love the way the character is allowed to do it, where he almost, breaks pitch a little bit when telling his dad he's just sad. You don't think about that so much. You don't think back to how cool that must be, even as a high schooler, where most people at that point are out of that phase, or getting give me money, give me credit cards, give me gift certificates, gift cards. They're not caring so much about Santa Claus, yet he still has that exact same magic that we have as a child the first time we're finding out and dealing with Santa Claus, even now, and it's his dad. And so I can't imagine, rethinking that through that moment, how difficult that's got to be. Like, it really has to be to have that, but you can't share that with anybody. Like, I don't know. I know I've gone on and on, but
Yes.
hit me in the feels.
Yes, definitely.
Holiday feels.
Charlie convinces Carol that Scott is Santa by showing her the magic snow globe. Curtis flies in to tell Scott about the toy Santa's plan, but Scott's used up the last of his magic trying to woo Carol, and he can't return to the North Pole. Well, with the help from the Tooth Fairy and a very timely tooth falling out of Lucy's mouth, the Tooth Fairy is able to get Scott and Curtis back to the North Pole, only for the toy Santa to find them and tie them up almost immediately.
Yes.
Charlie and Carol spring them free. Charlie sacrifices a tooth to do so. And they go after the toy Santa, or Scott does, who's already left with the sleigh. And Scott goes after him riding Chet,
Yes.
the rambunctious reindeer in training. They both crash back into the village. With an army of elves, Carol, Bernard, Charlie, and Curtis lead them into a snowball fight to overthrow the toy soldiers. Toy Santa is defeated and reduced to a 6-inch height. And Scott marries Carol in a ceremony. That must have been really awkward. Like, oh, by the way, I stopped being Santa if we don't get married, like, right now.
Mm-hmm.
Right now.
Right now.
Which is fine, no pressure,
no
but
pressure.
like joy will die for millions of children all around the world.
No pressure.
and stuff.
None at all.
Yeah.
Something that I'd never realized until I was reading things today, and you just mentioned it. They shrink the evil one down to like 6-inch Santa Claus. Mm-hmm. They missed a great opportunity. Number 3, they go Jack Frost route. It works out.
Right.
Again, it's fun.
Right.
They missed a great opportunity for 6-inch Santa Claus to come back and really cause some damage.
Yeah.
Like create, Toy Soldiers, the movie, is that what the movie was called?
Yeah.
Is it Toy Soldiers?
Toy soldiers.
Is that where the evil toy soldiers take over? They have like a military...
I know what you're talking about.
yeah, they're using like military chips inside of toys.
Yes.
Somebody thought it would be cool to put it in like a little army toy.
Yes.
Oh, I thought you were talking about Toyland.
One of Phil Hartman's last movies. I loved it as a kid, and I cannot think of. I think it is Toy Soldiers, but I'm not.
It's like the good other. It hit me because
the
it was
Argonauts.
the Argonauts are something close where this kid's working at a toy store, can't afford the cool toys, but he ends up getting some anyway.
Toy Soldiers is a 1991 film.
That doesn't
that's
sound right.
not it because this movie came out in 1998.
Is it Tiny Soldiers? People at home are screaming at us right now.
We're going to find it out within the next minute, I promise, because I am looking it up as...
Because that was another one that was very practical effect, where you could go and find these, like, clay, whatever they are, kind of how, like, Jack...
Well, I just had a recovered memory about the 1986 film Babes in Toyland, which also had evil toy soldiers.
It does.
Now I can't stop thinking about it, and it's just
Small
disturbing.
Soldiers.
Small Soldiers.
Small Soldiers is the name of the movie.
Did you say Babes in Toyland?
Yes.
That's on Disney Plus. If
It
you would like
has
to watch.
Drew Barrymore and Keanu Reeves and the guy from the Karate Kid. Mm-hmm. And it is like the weirdest thing.
It is.
It is so weird. And I'm just getting like a recovered memory about it where she like falls into a... It's got a labyrinth-esque feel to
Yeah,
it.
100%.
It's very weird. And now I'm like, am I going to go back and watch this and just like kind of see how it fits again, like how it feels?
I need to go back and watch
weird.
this because...
What, Small Soldiers?
Well, that too.
That too.
Because it could technically be... That would have been a great one for our... Is it a Christmas movie or not?
It's got music and there's like a toy master and the music is very weird and they sing that song like, Cincinnati, and that you spell it out and stuff. And then, anyway, okay.
I need to go back and watch that one because I feel like the one I've seen over and over again is like the 1961 version. And for every time I watched it, it doesn't click. Like, this isn't when I saw it I was a child. But now when I'm Googling, because you're talking, I was like, wait.
Yeah.
There's another Babes in Toyland that is from my
1986.
childhood.
Yeah.
I wasn't born quite yet, but I'm sure it made the VHS round whenever I was a child.
Phew. Okay, sorry. We got
We're gonna
off
watch
track.
that.
But it's sort of related.
This is all Christmas. We're having fun.
Yeah. So anyway, Scott and Charlie reveal to Lucy that Scott is Santa Claus.
Yep.
And that's the movie.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what'd y'all think? Y'all like it? Yay, nay?
Love it. Love it.
I still... Same way, Home Alone, you've got to watch 1 and 2. You'll end up watching 3 if you have 3, just because, and now with Disney Plus, it's going to recommend it
I
enough
would
times.
just definitely see all
You're
three.
probably going to watch. Same way with this. I definitely think first one's better. But second one still doesn't disappoint. Like, it's not where it went lame and everything else. The third one is getting to that level. Like, it goes down.
Right.
But even the third one is still fun enough to watch.
Good.
And
Yeah.
they keep things in continuity enough that you can still enjoy it.
You know, this movie being almost 20 years old, I felt like most of the time, like, sequels usually don't do a good job.
Sure.
And Christmas holiday sequels at that, I mean, are even less successful. Mm-hmm. I mean, but Home Alone 2 proved it can be done. This is not on par with Home Alone 2.
No.
But it is still an enjoyable movie in its own right. Mm-hmm. And if you're going to be watching a lot of holiday Christmas films around November, December, then you could do a lot worse than to include this in your collection. There, in terms of, I mean, I don't know how you would rank it overall, like in the pantheon of Christmas movies. I'd say it's maybe a top 25 movie.
Oh, for sure.
Oh, yeah.
know?
It's got to be top
this is one of my
25.
top ones, for sure.
I would probably put it, I'd say top 10 the same way I throw Marvel out there, but at the same time.
Top 10, everything's top 10.
Yeah, there are 25 movies in my top 10.
Yeah. I feel like these are at least the ones we watch every time. Like, you've got your standards like Christmas Vacation and A Christmas Story or The Christmas Story. Then you have your Home Alones, and then Santa Claus is right there in it. You've got Elf, other things. But I do think it almost just comes as a package. Like, if you're going to watch one, you typically are going to watch the next one.
Well, especially the first one, because we have that on VHS.
Yes.
And the jokes are broad enough that my dad also enjoyed watching it. And so I will never forget, like, after the first few times we saw it, he would walk around the house because he thought that line when he's on the sleigh and he still thinks he's having some kind of weird lucid dream. And he's like, ho, 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 like, Merry Christmas and to all a good night. And he's like, when I wake up, I'm going to get a CAT scan.
Yes.
And my dad would walk around the house saying, he thought it was the funniest line. He's like, when I wake up, I'm going to get a CAT scan.
With Santa Claus 2, I definitely felt like it was definitely more, like, they're all kid-friendly.
Yeah.
Yes.
But even with, like, the first one, there are some jokes that kind of slip in there.
Yeah,
that
some
are,
adult level humor.
You know, that make it enjoyable for adults as well. And I thought that there were less of that in this. Like, I definitely think this was definitely geared
towards
a
kids.
lot more heavily towards kids. They're all geared towards kids. This one laid it on thick for the kids.
I think the first one was PG, and then this one came in at G like rating. So it does.
Yes, yeah.
And I do, like we mentioned briefly, but you know, you do still have some Tim Allen jokes that kind of come out from those other characters. I feel like the first one came in super strong, but it was also because Home Improvement was giant at the time. I think he even put out a book in the same year. We talked about it.
Yeah, he had the number one TV show, number one movie, and number one book all at the same time in 1994.
We talked about this one last year?
2 years ago.
2 years ago. So it's in the archives if you want to
We
go back
actually
and listen.
recorded this one twice. So we recorded it, and then my laptop crashed.
Yep.
So we had to re-record it a week later.
Yep.
So definitely
Yeah,
check that.
there's a little, I mean, it's not necessarily adult aimed humor like the first one, but there are still some things that only adults would really comprehend. Like when he's going on that date with Molly Shannon and he says, a needlepoint sweater and a minivan. I'll be back in about 8 minutes.
Yes, great line. Great line. Let's move into your favorite scenes and quotes.
Okay.
You know, that's a good segue.
I will say there's that whole section where, and you said it first, but he's wooing her.
Woo.
I don't ever know if I call him Santa or Scott or Tim. I get
Either
confused.
one.
We'll just say
answers to
Santa here.
everything.
But
Buzz.
Santa, Santa is trying to woo Principal Newman, and I like it because it's a natural thing. It's not, I came down, got to find a lady, you're the one type deal. It just was a gradual thing. But once there is somewhat of a little bit of a connection and how he woos her, I love how that he has like Christmas spirit, and he only has so much to use, and he's still got to have some to get back to the North Pole. I love the fact of what he did was all in romance, but it was very much still and very much like the Christmas spirit. He could have used this magic or spirit, like whatever, to enhance himself in a way to be like, oh, I'm almighty attractive or whatever. He didn't. He's very much like, I really want this to work. I'm not faking something that I'm not to make you like me more so that you'll marry me and I can be Santa Claus. Like when they leave, a little bit backstory, he's in the house. He like comes to visit her. She ends up having to go to the school staff Christmas celebration party, ends up inviting him just because he's there. They talk about old cars, which all of a sudden, okay, you know, you almost assume he's Tim the Toolman Taylor a little bit. So you get that idea of he knows cars, he likes cars. They throw that in a little bit that shows that she has that too. There is an interest, you know, that they share with mutual things. But then they go outside. She's almost a little bit excited to kind of see, like, what are you driving? And it's a sleigh, like, drawn with horses. As they get going, they have hot chocolate. Snow comes down. All these little magical things that is a perfect date, honestly. If you're taking, a gal out and you're wanting to woo her and be like, I would hope this magical thing is there, and it happens. He doesn't, like I said, well, I don't want to keep talking over and over again, but he didn't, like, look at this cool thing that I drive or do this. He's like, how romantical can I get? And I think that's not a word. But then...
it is. You just made it one.
Yeah. The most favorite moment, almost out of any Christmas movie ever for me, happens next. They're at the school staff, like, Christmas party. Everybody's bored to death.
Yes.
Nobody is having a good time. They're
all
just...
those adults.
Great party. That guy moved.
Yeah. All those adults forgot what Christmas feels like.
They did.
Plus, they're public school teachers, so
it's easy.
The joy is gone.
Yeah. Santa says, I'll be right back. Comes back, opens the curtain, and there's this giant stack of gifts. And it's not like, once again, Santa could have used his magic to give away, fancy jewelry or big, expensive watches or money or anything. He doesn't. Each toy is wrapped, and as each person opens it, it's like their favorite Christmas toy from their childhood. And you just see the childhood, like, Christmas spirit come out of them. Everybody is having, like, the best time ever. There's this one guy that reminds me of Stanley from The Office where, like, unless it was pretzel day, he's probably not happy. He's just negative. He opens it, and it's, is it crisscross? It's like tic-tac-toe.
Yeah, crossfire.
Crossfire. No,
Yeah.
Crossfire is something else. That was a little shooting game.
Cross and toss.
Cross the toss.
Because you have to toss the beanbag, but you're
That's right.
playing tic-tac-toe.
And he's so excited. You see that. Then you see him playing it later. You see him doing, like, making the little, like, gelatin.
Toss across.
I
got it. I got there. Whew.
You see him making the little, like, gelatin bugs. You see him, like,
it's like all vintage toys.
Somebody setting up Mousetrap.
Yeah.
Probably
Rockin'
only...
sock and boppers.
The only time it'll ever work.
Well, they set up Mousetrap only to probably, like, hit the button, let it see it, and
One
put it
time.
back together.
And we're done.
And they're going to toss across next. But this inspired me first as a child. I don't remember it a ton from then, but I remember coming back as an adult watching it. And it hit me in a way that was like, how can I do this for my friends? I've thought about it multiple times. I've never done it yet. I did ask Erica that Christmas, was like, what's something from your childhood that you would just love? Like, I don't even think it worked that way. But there's been so many moments for me that's like, as adults, we do get busy, especially in workplace environments and stuff. We know each other on a certain level, but I feel like we get so busy, especially at holiday time, that we lose a little bit of that because we've got to make sure certain things get done, and we got to, get gifts for all these people and make sure we show up to these events, that sometimes we just miss that amazing part of Christmas and why we loved it so much when we were younger. So I would love to be able to do that at some point in the future. Maybe What the What can host a Christmas event in the future and do something similar where we just throw out some old school gifts and just have fun with it.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I'll let someone else talk now. I got super pumped with that one.
So a favorite scene of mine is the opening scene. For two reasons. One, where you have the plane flying over and like they're trying to conceal their, I guess, existence. Like they don't want to give it away because then, if the world like actually knows, then there's no fun in it. It's all the secret's gone, and I mean they'll probably invade and take all the resources and try to use the magic for themselves. Thanks, world. But then after that, when they're having fun and Scott's just walking around and the tinsel guys throw a bunch of tinsel on, he's like, okay, football. And it's like the tinsel guys versus him in football. Yeah. And it's like just seeing him interacting with the elves, especially during the first movie when all his interactions were negative.
Right.
Like, because he didn't want to believe it and he was just, flabbergasted. And he's like, clearly this is awful. So you never see any real positive interactions in the first movie other than at the end when he's accepted that he's Santa and they're going over like ways to protect his suit. And
I don't even know if you see that much in other Christmas movies, to be honest. Typically they build the things and he delivers it, but you don't get to see that.
So I
Christmas
really,
Chronicles, you see the elf-Santa relationship.
True.
I really love that. And I really loved Lucy's addition to this movie.
Yes. That little girl is so
she's
cute.
So cute. I love the scene where, are you Santa, Uncle Scott? Because you have a reindeer. And he's like, lots of people have reindeer. She's like, name 5.
Oh my gosh, that's one of my favorite quotes too. Because then he goes, "Well, they're all from Finland, and I can't pronounce their names."
Yes.
And then I love the mix of like, I don't even know if it's a full practical effect or a practical effect with a hint of CGI because it's 2002, but the reindeer's expressions are genius. Like,
Yeah.
you
Yes.
can tell what Comet is feeling. And so when he goes, plus, no one wants reindeer as pets. Reindeer are too stupid to keep as pets. And Comet, like, cuts his eyes at him. And I was like, this is great. Like, I just love the reindeer.
Absolutely. My other favorite quote is towards the end where all the reindeer are gone, but there's one option left. You have Chet. And Carol's like, Chet? And Curtis is like, or Bernard's like, yeah, he's still in training. And Scott's like, well, how much flight time has he had? And Bernard's like, well, about a minute and a half. And Curtis, just so, upbeat, he's like, yeah, but he's had a lot of crash time.
And then Curtis goes, he's just a baby.
Yep.
like don't pick on him. He's just a baby. It's so funny. Oh, man. I love Chet.
Yes.
Chet's my favorite.
I always wondered why they didn't try to bring in Rudolph in one of these stories, but they don't need to. They have Chet.
I feel like it's a copyright thing.
Right.
Probably a
Yeah.
The same way you don't see him in a lot. I always wonder
You don't
that
see
too.
Rudolph in a lot of Christmas movies. Like the Christmas Chronicles, I don't think there's a Rudolph.
Yeah, I never thought about that. That's a very good point.
Yeah, they always have the typical, 8 reindeer, but they never have Rudolph.
Yeah.
I think with whoever created, the original Rudolph movie, I've always assumed. I've never dug, but it came across my mind a couple years ago.
Maybe they should try getting Olive, the other reindeer. Have you ever seen that? It's a dog that's voiced by Drew Barrymore, and her name's Olive, and she's like, "Yeah, I'm Olive, the other reindeer."
No, I was thinking of.
Because she's in the song Olive, the other reindeer.
Oh, wow.
Wow, okay.
I hate that.
Used to laugh and call him names.
I was thinking about in the claymation Rudolph, where Rudolph's girlfriend or whatever is like Clarice. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
She
interesting.
grew up to be in another movie.
Yeah, and that movie with the
Horror movies.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Anyway, any other favorite scenes or what worked the best for y'all?
So I really liked where he's wearing Neil's sweater, and he's like, he says something about how stupid he looks. And then the wife, who's his ex-wife, is like, it's what's inside that counts. And then Neil goes, I thought you said you liked that sweater. And she's like, we'll talk about it later. Just so funny. And then when we first really meet the principal and she takes the skateboard from that kid and she's like,
yes,
look into my eyes. What do you see? And he goes,
dark.
it's dark and it's cold.
That's your future.
It's so funny. Oh my goodness. Yeah.
You mentioned technically Laura's the ex-wife, and then Neil and Lucy. And we talked about Lucy and how, she definitely is a great add-on to this movie. I really like, too, how Laura and Neil come in this movie and how just there's so much getting along, whereas sometimes you wouldn't see that. And even in the previous movie, you don't. There's a lot of angst and stuff back and forth and stuff.
It reminds me of the relationship between Scott Lang and his family.
And we
Ant-Man
talked,
2.
Sure.
yeah, we talked specifically during Ant-Man about blended families and how refreshing it is to see families that get along like that in pop culture. And I think honestly, I know that the third Santa Claus movie feels kind of like this add-on and like it was kind of ending, but that's one of my favorite things about the third movie is you get to see more of this blended family thing. Like the fact that Lucy calls Scott Uncle Scott and that, Neil and Scott and Laura, thank you.
I had to look it up too.
Are clearly solidly co-parenting Charlie and that they all get along. And then when Carol invites her parents up to the North Pole and they kind of have to unite as a unified, we have to make them believe that this is an actual place that isn't magical, that is some
Canada.
factory. Right, it's Canada. Then Laura and Neil immediately jump on getting to go and they act like kids the whole time, but they're there to support Scott too. And so it's really nice that they clearly get along so well and he's clearly welcome in their home. And there isn't this you can tell that Neil and Scott still kind of keep up the little bickering just for old time's sake, but that they're all coming from a place of love and getting along. And it's just it's really beautiful to see.
Well, I think they keep it too the same way in the first movie. There is that part where I don't think Scott takes it serious enough sometimes. And Neil's a little over serious.
Yes.
But in the beginning, when they're meeting at the principal's office where they've all been called in, Scott makes excuses for his son.
Yes.
He's like, well, you don't have any decorations around
Yes.
here. Hurt
Yeah.
to buy a tree.
Yeah.
And she's like, this is a public school. We don't have
Right.
hardly anything. So they still...
true.
Yeah.
Right.
Some things never change.
Yeah. Yeah.
They still are more so the,
Right.
responsible ones. But I definitely
Right.
think by the end, he continues to grow as a character too,
Right.
and realizes that he's got to make better choices with his son.
And also, honestly, we talked about what you thought worked well, and I think even before he makes a conscious decision to start trying to woo the principal,
Sure.
That first session of community service where he brings her coffee, and he's just trying to befriend her, I think, at that point.
Sure.
And I think one of the first things he does that starts changing her mind about him is, he definitely likes being the fun dad, right? But I also think that he sees that, like, this is a problem.
Sure.
That Charlie's behavior isn't acceptable. And we kind of see what happens the first time that the fun parent does something where they actually punish you. And you're kind of like, wait a second, you're the fun parent. Like, Charlie's like, I thought you were on my side, Dad, And so he comes up and he's like, Dad, it's not coming off. Like, it's not scrubbing off. And he's like, yeah, that's the point. It's permanent, which is why you should think about things before you do them. Hence, why you're here.
Yeah.
And Carol looks at him like, oh, okay, so you can be a disciplinarian.
Sure.
Like, you can be serious. And she's like, nice job, you know? Like, I really like that scene.
Definitely think it adds a whole lot to the whole story on both sides of it.
Anything else that worked well for this movie?
I just have a note that's random. Snow globes. We don't see enough of those today.
I love a good snow globe.
They're very much important in these movies, and we don't get to see those enough.
Yeah.
What didn't age well, or what did not work for this movie?
I'll say we briefly mentioned earlier the whole marriage thing happened super fast.
Yes.
That is something super fast happened.
Yeah.
She also, you do get to see her like transform herself also as well into Mrs. Claus the same way you
Right.
see Scott transform into
During
Santa
the
Claus.
credits, though.
Well,
Yeah.
that's true.
Yeah.
I'm not
okay.
saying for like it counts, but I'm just saying going into the next part, you're like, okay, well maybe that she's here, that transformation turns her
Right.
into a little bit more magical.
Right,
as well.
right.
So
The only thing that I kind of thought about that maybe it didn't age well, that I get why it's happening. Okay. So like the de-santification process, right? So the de-santification process is supposed to show you how he's unbecoming Santa Claus, like he became Santa Claus. But it also, to me, seems like it's also kind of coming across like someone who looks like Carol couldn't fall for someone who looks like Santa, and so he has to go back to looking like Scott, and he has to be thinner, and he has to be less gray, and he can't have a beard, and then she can fall for him like body, soul, mind, whatever. And then once she falls for him, then he can go back to looking like Santa Claus, and she'll know that like what's underneath is what's important, and she'll love him even when he looks like Santa Claus. I just thought that was kind of weird.
I never
it
thought
felt
that in
a
depth
little
about it.
weird.
My biggest issue with this movie is the fact that there is so much going on. You had 3 intersecting
Yes.
stories where you could have cut one of them.
And I had zero interest in Toy Santa.
Yeah, you could have cut one of them, and I think it would have made the movie stronger.
Right.
This movie clocks in at a little over 2 hours. I think 2 hours and a minute.
Which is long for a movie aimed at kids, even in 2002.
The other 2 movies come in at about an hour and a half.
Right.
So I really think you could have cut 30 minutes off this movie by removing one of the subplots, whether it be, have it just be Charlie. Charlie is on the naughty list, and he's, Scott's going to go take care of that.
Right.
And maybe do the Toy Santa and save
Right.
the Mrs. Claus for a future movie.
Right.
Or maybe just have it be
The Mrs. Claus.
Mrs. Claus and Charlie, and
Right. Because every time it cut back to what was going on at the North Pole, I was like, ugh, I got to get
like
through
I know
this
they
to
were
get to the
trying
other
to
scenes.
they were trying to put stakes in the movie, because
Right.
there has to be stakes, for because if this doesn't happen, then something bad happens or whatever. But I really think you could have done without one thing in this one of the 3 main stories, and it would have worked so much better.
Well, you make a good point there too. Where I think if you did Charlie and wife or Mrs. Claus, and what if the elves knew that we don't know what these presents we're making are actually going to get delivered or not, because Santa may not make the deadline, and we
Yeah.
may all be.
And
what
that-
happens to us?
That would have been proper stakes to me.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's my only complaint is good movie. You could have lost one of the stories, and it would have been stronger, in my opinion. Fun facts.
Oh, I forgot about those.
Well, it's okay. I mean, I've got a few.
Okay.
The first fun fact is one that I noticed the first time I saw it. The Father Time is actually played by Peter Boyle, who in the first movie played Scott's boss.
Oh, yeah. That's funny.
So I like that he was included in Santa Claus 2 and 3.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, did we do unanswered questions?
Oh, we didn't. Oh, my goodness.
I have a big one.
Okay.
It's kind of dark.
I do too. Mine's not as dark, but go ahead. Let's
Okay.
do unanswered questions first.
So if there's a Santa Claus with an E, Claus,
Yes.
the Claus, okay, and there's a Mrs. Claus
With an E.
with an E, that means that every Santa Claus has a Mrs. Claus because you have to have a Mrs. Claus to be a Santa Claus, okay? And then Santa Claus in the first movie falls off the roof and he becomes Santa Claus. So what happened to that Santa Claus's Mrs. Claus? Is it like some weird thing where like the elves are like, hey, your Santa fell off the roof and a new guy's Santa, so you got to get out.
Now you're homeless.
Or we're going to kill you?
Maybe
Like, do
there's
the
like some
elves
nice
kill
little
Mrs.
cottage.
Claus? Is it like a ritual sacrifice thing? What's
Hopefully
happening?
Two answers.
Hopefully
two
not.
possible
I told you it got
answers
really
here.
dark.
That's okay.
Well, the first one is we see in this movie that there were 8 years between him becoming Santa and then him actually having to get married. Maybe the previous Santa Claus hadn't got married. Maybe he was only Santa for like 5 years.
Maybe there's a timeline.
You know?
So then, like, some Santas are just Santas until they have to find a Mrs. Claus. But here's the other thing.
Maybe that's why he fell off the roof. Maybe he didn't want to. Maybe he didn't want to get married the next
was
year.
like, just
And he's
take me now, Jesus.
I'm gonna die right
I'm
off this
ready.
roof.
I can't do it anymore. I can't be in this dating pool. Internet dating is the worst. Let me just jump off this roof. Anyway,
I refuse to go out with Arlene for marketing. I refuse to do it.
can't do it anymore. I can't do this idle chit chat. So
Chet.
yeah, Chet. Oh man, Chet. So that's the other thing too, is like, okay, so if all the Santas are just Santas until they have to have Mrs. Clauses, but then some Santas have Mrs. Clauses, what happens to the Mrs. Clauses when the Santa's no longer Santa? And then
The Christmas spirit takes them.
And then if the Santas get to the point where they can't get a Mrs. Claus, like there's been a Santa, right, for like millennia, okay? So like Santa has been Santa since the dawn of Santa, okay? And if this Mrs. Claus, they act like when they go over the Mrs. Claus thing with him, they act like if he stops being Santa because of the Mrs. Claus, not because he falls off a roof or something, and there's no guy there to take his place, that Santa and the elves and the North Pole and Christmas cease to exist.
What
So
I'm
like,
learning is,
there's a lot of plot holes here. I
well,
feel
Santa
like.
Claus, is a very hazardous job, is what I'm learning.
Also that, yeah.
Because they've never got to a point to realize this and all of the, forever.
Right.
So
Maybe the previous Santas were already married.
could be. Because technically Scott was. But, and I bet his, Laura's probably kicking herself. Like, I could have been Mrs. Claus.
Right?
But
If
I
I
got
held
Neil.
on for 3 more
I got
years.
Neil in
Now
the
I
sweaters.
just got Neil in these sweaters.
But,
beautiful
these
Argyle
great
sweaters.
I like to imagine, as we see in the third movie, that, the North Pole is actually full of grand stores and, like, not stores, but places.
Right, like
it's
it's
very
a whole
beautiful.
little town and it's
So I imagine
delightful.
that
There's
they
a
give
cocoa
her,
shop.
Like, she's, acknowledged kind of as, like, presidents are, when they're no longer president, that, they're still very taken care
So
of.
she's like a
and
former
loved.
first lady.
She is. She just,
Okay.
she's very respected, and she
Right.
can kind of do whatever she wants.
Right. And so then there are just a bunch of former Mrs. Clauses living in the North Pole.
Yeah, just chill.
Sure.
Okay. Interesting.
All right, my unanswered question. I actually
I
mentioned
still like the ritual sacrifice thing, but okay.
At least there's some definite things happening. there.
Yes.
Some definite answers.
My unanswered question is something I mentioned earlier in our episode here. In the first movie, Judy the elf, who took 1,200 years to get her cocoa recipe right. She's no longer there. She was replaced by Abby.
Well, like, how long do elves live?
What did Judy do? I'm assuming she got fired.
I'm assuming she
I
got
don't.
promoted.
I think she died. I think like, I don't know how long elves live, but I think Judy was like, I have spent 1,200 years perfecting this cocoa recipe, and I have finally done it, and I can just like the elves in Lord of the Rings, I can just go to the other side. Like I have achieved greatness here, and I'm just gonna like go into that good night or something.
So you chose death. Eric chose she
I will
was
always
fired.
choose
I said
death.
she got
Apparently,
I'm assuming she's on her honeymoon because she previously was dating.
Oh, yeah, she was dating some guy in rapping.
Yes.
Oh yeah, the guy from rapping.
So I'm thinking they finally, it took some time. They took it slow because
Yeah, but
1,200
are
years.
elves allowed to take vacation around Christmas time? Because that seems like the busiest time
I'm
of
sure
year.
Maybe she's accrued enough time.
I'm thinking
she's been working for
1,200 years.
And
That's
for
true.
up until this point, she's had no reason to
Yeah,
take
and
vacation.
do elves
Like,
age? Like Bernard's clearly the oldest, and he's the head elf. But Judy looks like an 8-year-old who's been alive for 1,200 years, and then the little girl from
he the
baking
oldest or
is like
tallest?
4,
Well, and Curtis is 900 years old.
right? And he still looks like 10. So,
And there's
do elves age out?
There's an elf from the first movie, Quentin, who looks older, but he doesn't show up in this movie either. So
Right. I want
just
to
like to think they got
understand.
promoted.
I want to understand the culture of the elves.
maybe Abby.
she's like head chef now, and Abby's
not
lower.
Abby. Maybe Judy just left. Found a better job.
You can find
I
a
don't
better
think that's
job.
how that works.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe she put her resume out there on Indeed, and
like
she's
once
like,
an elf, always an elf.
Yeah.
She's
There's
not like that
secrets.
weird guy from Rudolph that wants to be a dentist.
She's
No.
like, hey, there's this
She's
great-
rotting your teeth.
there's this great train called the Polar Express. They really need a hot chocolate maker. So
Well, maybe that's what it is. She's the
maybe.
head chef now, and she's in charge of getting, hot chocolate to the Polar Express. She's also in charge of making sure Santa gets his. So Abby's the one that's filling in and doing like the server role now, and then she's backstage head chef, preparing,
Yeah, maybe
packaging
she's head
up,
of the
shipping it out.
kitchens.
Yeah,
That's
it's-
fair.
It's a
Okay.
big kitchen.
that's fair. All right. Any other unanswered questions? Cool. Back to fun facts. I mentioned Peter Boyle in the first movie has a different role in this movie. This fun fact. Scott's trying to explain to Carol early on that he's Santa, and so he's given hey, I work far away from home. I work with whatever, and she's like, well, so far so good. You don't wear socks with sandals, and you've never been to prison. And Scott replies with, well, and that's a reference to Tim Allen, who did spend time in prison on drug charges before his acting career.
He had a nice mustache though.
Yeah.
I've got one.
Forget about it. I lived through the 60s.
I've got one that I think it was an interview with Tim Allen years and years later, but I think it kind of just works for the entire franchise, not just this one particular one. But is that Allen said that when parents recognize him as his character or Christmas character during the holidays and mention to their children that he's Santa, some kids will pull him aside for a conversation. He said the kids will ask him to tell Santa what they want and that they've been good. They're smart. They know that I'm associated with him, Allen said, laughing. They're almost treating me like they understand there's a transition process. So the kids understand that somebody else is taking over. He didn't fall off a roof or die. He just retired. But they see this and still come up to him to this day and still try to tell him to tell Santa what they want for Christmas.
I think that's magical.
I think it's really awesome.
I had one more. We mentioned Molly Shannon earlier. She also played Betty Lou Who and How the Grinch
Love
Stole
it.
Christmas. I never put that together until
Oh,
I
yeah.
was reading that.
Wow.
Yeah.
I think I was so focused on just like her light war and everything else back and forth that you focus on that, but I'd never put into thought. I think too, like all the makeup and stuff, you just get engulfed into Grinch and like
there's
Who's.
people in the live action Grinch movie that you would have, sometimes you have to, I have to look at the cast list
Sure.
and remind myself through the makeup who those people are. Because it's a star-studded
It is.
cast, and you don't realize it because they all look like Whovians.
And maybe that's a good thing. Maybe
Yeah.
they so much they're just good actors.
Christine who plays
Christine
Martha
B?
May Who. Well, I can't remember how you pronounce Baranski. Anyway,
Baranski.
she's excellent in that movie. She's so great, and you're like, is that who I think it is? And it is. Yeah. Yep.
Awesome.
that's what I've got.
Cool deal.
I don't really have any intense fun facts.
Here's one of the
that have to be said.
Here's a fun fact for you, the listener. Whenever we do sequels to movies, and we're looking up fun facts and trivia and behind the scenes type things to give you, it's harder to find them for sequels because you type it in the Google machine, and they always want to give you stuff for the first movie. So it's harder to find stuff for the sequels. So.
I found
Right.
one more real fast. It's
One
real
more.
simple. It says, while you're watching at 1 hour, 20 minutes, Scott and Curtis are captured, and the marquee over the workshop says that there's only 19 minutes until Christmas. Exactly 9 minutes later, in real time, as you're watching the movie, Charlie warns Scott that there's only 10 minutes left.
Oh.
So some good continuity there.
Good continuity. I
Nice.
like that.
We love
We love
continuity.
continuity here at What the What. So. All right. Well, I don't think we have any social media shout-outs for this episode. I don't think we got to that. So we're going to jump right to the end. First of all, before we get to that, if you're listening to this, we are 2 weeks away from the greatest toy of all time tournament.
I'm pumped.
It will be live
So
on
excited.
Facebook. We'll give a little more direct time on social media. We're thinking about 6:30, 6:45-ish or so. And we're really excited about that. We, you, the listener, have helped pare down some of our toys to complete our field of 64. And we do have a little giveaway going on where we will announce that on social media if we haven't already by this point. But all you have to do is fill out a bracket.
You don't have to win.
You don't have
per se.
to. You don't have to win the bracket. You just fill it out, and you're entered into the tournament.
Yeah.
So, so if you're listening to this 2 weeks prior, you still have time. In fact, the bracket is probably releasing around this time because we are in the process of getting it finalized in the next week or so. So you've got time. Fill out that bracket. You've got 2 weeks, and then make sure you tune in where we will feature a lot of toys. In fact, if you see on the bracket, you because a lot of these toys are kind of classic toys from our childhood. If you have some of those toys and you want to let us borrow them for the live recording, get up with one of us.
Yeah.
And we'll be happy to feature it. Because. I mean, I've already, I haven't told y'all, I've got a couple of toys already in the collection that we will be able to use for that episode. So when we're comparing this one versus this one, like we can actually look at it and be like, man, which one do I really want to play with right now? Because I have both of them available.
Well, there's a reason I asked if we could do it at my house. I don't have to drag a bunch of toys here. I
Fair.
can pull them
Like
out
it.
of my attic or out of wherever
Plus,
they're sitting
bonus,
right now.
I get to see your house.
I
true.
know. I don't think I've actually been inside your house yet.
That's true. I moved in early this year and had a baby 2 weeks later. So not
He did all the things.
Yay,
Yeah.
planning.
Yeah, especially when your house is supposed to be done in February.
So
Womp womp.
definitely want to give a shout out for that episode coming up. It'll be a Facebook Live, and then we'll release audio on it the next day, the week of Christmas.
And again, I want to clarify the whole
cool.
tournament thing for you guys entering. Sometimes you feel like you have to hit how many did I get correct? It's not
Nope.
that.
You just
This
fill it
is
out.
Have fun with it. Fill it out how you feel like it would win. And just by your filling one out, posting it online, tagging us, your name will get entered into a bracket, or not bracket, but just into the
Into a
drawing.
Prizes.
Yep.
Yeah,
Prizes.
and then we'll
There
randomly
will be
draw
prizes.
one drawing, draw your name out just because you entered or you submitted it, showed us that you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
drew
the
it.
hard part's on us. We got to pare these down. All you
do.
got to do is fill out your opinion.
That's right.
You don't
Right.
have to win. You don't have to say, well, I got all of them right in the first round, but then I didn't get right any in the second round. No. Just fill it out.
And we're doing this the week of Christmas.
Week of Christmas.
We could get heated here.
Oh, yeah.
Try to destroy
Could
some
get
Christmas.
intense.
No, we're gonna not gonna.
I'm not camping.
We're
It's
not
too
going to be
cold.
intense. We're going to be at Kyle's house.
Oh, thought we were going to be intense.
No,
Please don't light my living room on fire.
Now I'm sad.
You can bring some s'mores.
Thought there was
It's
going to
okay.
be like a campfire and everything.
chestnuts roasting on an open fire.
And have an electric grill or electric oven stove.
Jack Frost, he's in the third Santa Claus.
Yeah, sure.
We'll do that one next year. Anyway, so stay tuned for the greatest toy of all time tournament. A big thank you, as always, to Ricky Lyles for his contributions to our podcast. He will actually be on this episode, if I'm not mistaken.
You should be. We need to double check with him.
He's going to be basically our guide, introducing, in the first round we have so-and-so versus so-and-so.
It's going to be our MC.
Our
you go.
MC, clap your
Yeah.
hands. We hope you enjoyed our discussion on the Santa Claus 2 as much as we did. We hope that you're as pumped for the rest of this journey into the Christmas season. We've got 2 episodes left.
Oh, man.
So we're out of time on today's episode. Why don't you guys hit them up with some last-minute plugs? Ashby?
So you guys can find me at Ashby Gray on Instagram and Twitter. And what am I going crazy about these days? Mostly any of the Marvel TV shows and
Hawkeye.
tweeting about that. Hawkeye is amazing. Rogers the Musical, we need it. Lin-Manuel Miranda, please
I can
write
do
it.
this all day.
Please write it. And also Taylor Swift, T-Swift,
T-Swizzle.
Tay-Tay.
Tay-Tay.
I'm still on that. I'm still on that re-release train. So anyway, that's what I got going on these days.
All right, Kyle.
You can check me out on Instagram, _live_bright_. That may be the same as my Twitter, but I never use Twitter. But I don't really know. Honestly, I've just been really decorating our house. We've been getting excited for Christmas, getting the tree up already, getting decorations up going inside. Being that it's our first time owning our own home, and also we're not surrounded by 50 pine trees, you can actually see our home We've gone and bought some different things and actually trying to really decorate it this year versus using things that were handed down to us when we got married almost 10 years ago. So, yeah, it's been fun so far. Definitely check that out. I would say, out of the two that are out there, definitely go and check out 8-Bit Christmas and also Home Sweet Home Alone just to enjoy something new for the holidays. But yeah.
And I'm Eric Creech. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at EricoMac15, ERICOMAC15. Definitely going to plug Reefs Across America. And this is something done in Wayne County. The Wayne County Veteran and Patriots Coalition always will lay remembrance wreaths on the graves of our fallen heroes at 2 local cemeteries in Wayne County. And they will definitely take some donations towards that. I think it's a great thing. Over 1,700 veterans are in between the 2 cemeteries, and organizers want to lay wreaths on as many of those graves as possible. A couple of our friends have parents who who have been laid to rest in those cemeteries, and I think it's a fantastic cause. So check out Reefs Across America for Wayne County, and any support you can give them is going to be greatly appreciated. So be sure to join us next week. We do our year-end review. We're going to be talking about the year of pop culture and reviewing things that we enjoyed from this previous year, maybe with a little preview for things to come next year. So thank you for joining us today. Stay as cool as the other side of the pillow. And we will see you next time.
What the what?
Bye.